Hey all, this is a just kind of a check-in video, but also one where I want to give back, give a little bit of the course to you, just to give you a taste of what it may be about and just some features we'll work with using Hello Rails as the guide. So if you looked recently, I made a post on YouTube. I don't know if you saw it. If not, that's totally cool. But I actually posted an update to the actual landing page of my course at hellorails.io, and it has over 90 videos. Well, 90 exactly at this point. I counted from 0, so it starts at 89. That's my programmer mind. There's 90 total at this point. There may be additions in the future if I need to revise some stuff or whatnot. This is a glimpse at the course itself. If you have the master course in mind, you'll actually get these bonus sections as well, or modules as I'm calling them, where we talk about payments, adding that, and adding useful features like pretty URLs and stuff like that to just make an app more realistic in the world of Ruby on Rails. So when you actually go to launch it, it's ready to roll. In this video, I just want to kind of give you a glimpse of one of the videos and the bonus modules about seeding. Actually, it's a short one, but it is one that I find useful and think is a good tip to have in your bag for Rails when it comes to just seeding your database with data, so you have data to work with no matter what. So this file that we'll actually reference in the video to come, or the section to come in this video, will kind of be responsible for creating some fictitious data for your app as it stands. There's certainly something to be said for importing data from your production app into your local app so you can work with even more realistic data. But seed type of data is one that you could use, at least starting out, where you find yourself creating multiple records in your database by hand. That gets tedious and time consuming and repetitive. So seeding is the answer to that in Ruby on Rails. So I invite you to check that out. Maybe you'll get a taste of the course. You'll see kind of some of the app and mention that we're working on in the course. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm hoping to launch this thing very soon. I'm doing some finalizations on the code front for the Hello Rails site, plus the dashboard area you'll get access to when you actually go ahead and buy the course. Aside from that, more news to come about pricing and whatnot when the course is launched. Definitely go ahead and subscribe here if you haven't already. You'll be the first candidates to hear about the course launch coming up. So I'm super excited to get this out there. It's been a huge effort, but I've had a really fun time doing it. So that's all for now, and check out the upcoming video about seeding next. By now, you've probably been creating actual content by hand each time you need to make either a new account or a new submission, new community, etc. Well, there's a thing called seeding that allows you to create that automatically by running a Rails command, just like anything else. But the problem with that is we need a place to actually define that data to begin with. So why don't we start by first ridding our entire app of the data that it currently has, and then creating new data relative to the seeded data. So this will be kind of a lesson in how to do this and the best approach to getting an app off the ground. So if someone downloads the app, the repo, and they run this command, they'll be able to kind of hit the ground running and have dummy data to work with by default, which is nice. It's a big time saver to do this. It also comes with some caveats where you are stuck with the same thing or pending new seeded data to a file that may or may not be what you need in the very end. So take this with a grain of salt, but it certainly helps me save a lot of time when I boot up new apps that I've been working on a while. The first step into kind of wiping your database is to say Rails DB reset. You can do Rails DB drop, DB create, and DB migrate. Reset's kind of a shortcut for all of those. So it'll drop your database, recreate them, and then migrate the existing migrations. Then there'll be virtually no data in your database. So this is kind of, there's no going back concept, but it's local data. So you shouldn't be doing this on live data anyway, unless you're just getting rid of an app. So we'll do a reset and stroll from there. Let's kill the server first off and try that again. There we go. So you see, I had the server running, so it wouldn't actually run that if the server was running. When you kill it, you get the drop database log and then create a database log. It went ahead and migrated it too. So you can just say Rails DB migrate to be sure. Okay, great. So right now, if we booted the app back up, we will have no data. That's intentional. So you might not want to do this if you download, like, say, your production app data and want to use it. That's a whole nother approach that you could do where you import data as opposed to seeding it. Totally optional, of course. So we have 0 data to work with at this point, no submissions, no communities, no users. So let's create some seeded data. And what that's going to do is be the starting point of our app each time we boot it up. And we can do that by going to db seeds. And in this file, there's some comments to kind of give you some pointers. But essentially, you're creating Ruby objects on the fly like you would in Rails console. And just kind of, creating those collections. If you need anything specific, you can create it willy-nilly. So to save time, I've copied over what will be our seeded data to start with. Initially, you need to create a new user to assign all this stuff to. So that's going to be the first order of business. With devise, you have to kind of have that concept in mind. So we'll need to actually provide both the password and password confirmation. And notice the exclamation point here. This is going to head and go and initialize the creation method and then actually save it once it's committed. So our actual default user is going to be an admin, and it'll just have my stuff here. Feel free to modify this on your own app if you're following along, mainly the email and username. The rest is kind of generic. The reason for initializing this and setting a local variable is so we can use it when we create communities. So you can create a collection of communities through an array, look and feel like this. Inside of it are hashes of data. So we have a name, title, description, the sidebar, and the user ID. Any other fields would be nil when they're created. You can make sure either to update this file, depending on if you add fields and or subtract fields based on your models and app. Then once the communities are created and the user is referenced, we can go ahead and create submissions. So submissions are just kind of big, long one-liners where we get the same method of the exclamation point, where it definitely commits it to the database. So we'll say the title, the body, the community is going to reference our communities array. And then you can type in first, you can type in last, you can type in a specific number, as you can see, like 1, and just assign those randomly in this case. That's kind of what I did here. And then I just put in some boilerplate content to coincide with what we're going for. So you can see how this gets pretty dynamic fast, and you can certainly go way crazier here. The same is true for the content. If you want to leverage maybe another gem to, use some fake data as opposed to inventing it on your own, you certainly could. So this will all be run basically when you drop the database and recreate it and then seed it, what's known as seed. So at this point, we've already established that our database is empty. We can go further and just seed it at this stage. So we'll say Rails DB seed. And it shouldn't output anything. It should just jump to the next line and give you your next command, just like that, basically. And what happens is behind the scenes, that data gets created, and now we have all this stuff to work with by default. I can log in with Andy at example.com, and that password was password. And I'm an admin, so all that's all good. I'm not subscribed to anything yet, though. I could go ahead and subscribe to communities just as I wanted to, just so I see some in my default feed. But all in all, that's essentially how you would go ahead and see data. So the sky's the limit there. If you want to go deeper or even add attachments and sort of concepts, you notice these are all text-based submissions. I didn't go as far as adding attachments to those. Very cool concept, a ton of time saving within seeds. So I really recommend them if you find yourself working on an app for quite a while, especially if you need to sometimes wipe the data and restart, which is commonly the case in some regards. So that is seeding data. Up next, we'll actually finally talk about recurring payments in Ruby on Rails and leverage Stripe to do just that. Hello Rails is my new course on Ruby on Rails. I'll teach you Ruby on Rails from the ground up. Visit hellorails.io for more information.